years ago and started a channel. And this guy right here got me into pipe smoking, and been a huge fan ever since then. So that's my backstory.
Very good. Ian, go ahead, sir.
How's it going, everybody? My name's Ian Simmons. I am in the Boston, Massachusetts area. I don't have a channel, but I work as a public safety manager for the state. And I'm at George Bruno's channel for probably the late 2000 teens. And that's how I found Donna. And I like what George and Donna has been saying. Yep. But that's my backstory.
Thank you, Ian. Brandon, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. So I am Brandon. I'm from Southern California, Orange County area. And I have also, I think we've all been watching George's stuff because I've seen his stuff and followed him on X. And I too am a therapist. I've been doing it for about 20 years almost. And I am probably just as disillusioned as George is with it. But yeah, so I started watching Donna's stuff one day. I don't know how, but just really was impressed with her ability to speak up for men. And I think it's a very necessary and important voice, that for men to be able to be men. So
Agreed.
I'm at Free Brandon 7, that YouTube and X.
We'll post everybody's links at the end. Make sure everybody gets their chance to get their information out there for subscribers, etc. I want to again acknowledge some people that are in the chat this evening. Jessica's here. Welcome, Jessica. Thanks for being here tonight. We have RH Max in the audience. ALV, thank you so much for being here, sir.
Max,
I know he's got a show coming up this evening right after mine at about 8:30 your time. So he couldn't make it with us on board this evening, which is completely understandable. But I do want to, we can break into the conversation based upon something that you just said, Brandon. And I want if you guys will feel free to just, there's no script here. So we get to share whatever we want to share. Boy, that maybe door, Mr. Bruno, that maybe door that you keep leaving open and maybe she'll come back, or just in case she comes back. I think it creates an extensive amount of disillusionment for men. Thoughts?
I'm a king of the maybe door. Man, a relationship ends. If I didn't end it, I'm like, okay, how do I get her back? I had a very strong reverse gear in my life. A very strong, I'm the king of going backwards until I wasn't. The maybe door is something that we keep open just in case. It's kind of like Motel 6. We'll keep the light on for you. We keep the porch light on. Those that have children, when the kids get of age, they go out at night, and you tell the kids, don't stay out too late. I'm going to keep the light on for you because they're going to be coming home. And that's what men do. They keep the door cracked to get maybe that woman, the one that slipped through their fingers, to get her to come back. And, after she went to the convent, of course, because they all go to convents. When women divorce and break up with men, they go to convents. You got to know that. And but the maybe door, what it does is the maybe door is like an app that is consuming power on your phone that's running all the time. And keeping the maybe door open literally wastes and utilizes the bandwidth that we have. We can only focus on so many things. The maybe door gets used a lot by guys who have one-itis for a woman, and we've all had that. So I say, close the maybe door. Yeah, exactly. Close the maybe door. You don't have to lock it, but at least close it.
Blake, your thoughts?
Boy, that maybe door hit 5 years ago. I was married for the second time. She was a 9.5 out of 10, and we divorced after 8 years. And I continued that relationship over 3 years. After we had separated, knowing that she had a boyfriend, I left that door open. And since last year, oh God, May of last year, I literally shut the door, not spoken to her. And boy, has it grown. Just, I was allowed to be myself and really grow as an individual for a post marriage. And I had one itis, and, you know, it went through the divorce and it went through post divorce. And, you know, she had a boyfriend and I still was doing the deed with her, and I just felt wrong. But then I finally just shut the door, and unfortunately it's locked right now, but she still has a key. And
I have something especially for you, Blake. You ready?
yeah, stop it. Yeah. It's been over, like I said, a year and a couple of months where I just haven't spoken to her, haven't texted with her, haven't, you know, communicated with her. And she's only 12 miles away. And I go, I'm just glad she hasn't, you know, interacted with me since then. So just enjoying life and getting on with where my direction is. And that's also what it's done, is open my life into, long story short, got injured a couple of years ago. I had to get back into work. Before that injury, I was to move to Tennessee. And unfortunately, the injury came within a month after I had finalized a rental out there. And it stuck me back sitting where I'm living currently. And now here I am, strong enough to be able to return to my work in the next couple of months, and then also return back to, I'm going to move. But unfortunately, Tennessee got a little expensive for me. So, you know, you make changes. So, and that's what it's allowed, is that I don't have another person that's going to affect those decisions.
I agree. I want to welcome some people into the chat. Alexander, thanks for being here. Tommy Stiggs is here this evening. Welcome, sir. John Moxley, I appreciate you being here. Jessica is here. Pure Blood, thanks for showing up. Ian, your thoughts on the maybe door?
I don't have enough experience on the maybe door, but I've always been of the mind that something has to be communicated, whether or not something wants to be continued or prolonged. So if it doesn't want to be continued, you both have to be on the same page, then I guess it's just time to close the door and put your focus on things that you can progress in the future and not kind of look back. I'm always of the mind to look forward and not to look back. Yeah, but it's everything is, there's different situations for everybody, right? But yeah, that's just my personal view on it.
I love that you said that you don't have enough experience yet. That was super. You know what? It depends on where you're at in life, right? We're all in different brackets and different responsibilities. Brendan, your thoughts on the maybe door?
So I'm gathering the maybe door is just like leaving open that the relationship can be reconciled later, basically. And it was a toxic or abusive relationship with a woman. Is that pretty much what it means?
It's the just in case door.
Just in
Just
case.
in case she wants to come back in. You're going to let her back in.
Just in case. All right. Well, this is something that when I was younger, I think I struggled with a lot more. now I've been through breakups, divorce, everything, and so I do have an understanding, a personal experience with it. I can say when there's kids involved, that's a lot stronger of a maybe. Just at least for me, I have a strong desire to have my kids be raised in the best way possible with having access to both parents and a congruent childhood. So if it's possible to not have a divorce or breakup with kids, then that's preferable if it's possible. If it's doable, it's not always. So I'd say that, George was mentioning, you end up putting in a lot of, it's hard to put your energy in a lot of different places. And once you've broken up or she left or whatever it was. And I think that's really true. And I think it's harder for men because I think women have like a natural ability to kind of multitask and focus their energy in many places. Men don't. So when a man has a hard time letting go, it's, I think, even more difficult with that maybe door. Because we're not naturally tuned to like, hey, let me put my energy into these other areas that are important in life too, whether it's, your kids, your job, maybe other women, whatever. So I think that's an important aspect of it that comes to mind. And the question that I guess I ask myself when I'm like discerning what happened that ended things and with this person, I'll ask like, okay, if we did get back together for some reason, what actually is going to be different? What is the actual change in that person that would make the relationship work? And how do I know that change has actually occurred? How would I know? So that, and to me, the only way to answer that is to be very, very cautious if you even leave that possibility there at all. And that would take a lot of time and positive experiences to see, okay, this person has made a change. But pretty much every time that's happened to me, I'm like, even if we got back together, like, I don't think I would enjoy it. It disrupts my peace too much and what I want for my life. So I would say the maybe door usually is probably not a good idea to have.
It's interesting to listen to all of you speak because you all seem to have the same opinion. And I know that you all come from different backgrounds and different reasons for why you're following George or myself and how you came to find us. And so when I think about the state of our modern masculinity today, I honestly feel like men are under attack constantly. And I'm curious to hear you guys share with my audience, what does it feel like? What are you thinking, and what's your response to the way that you're being treated?
That's a really good question, because I think what it creates kind of like a learned helplessness, that no matter what we do, it doesn't matter. No matter how hard we try, you might lose weight, you might muscle up, you get a better job, but yet you still get flaked on by women. You still get false accusations. You still have to prove yourself. And, there's a big difference between life a couple decades ago before social media and life now. I mean, social media is part of all of our lives. We all carry a computer in our hand and in our pocket, and we take phone calls from it. We search the web on it. We date with it. We discover people with it. They discover us. And it pretty much, that thing that we hold in our hand kind of rules and guides our life. I remember recently forgetting where I put my phone. I don't know, I misplaced it or something. It like fell in between a couch cushion or something. And I panicked. I was like, and I hadn't had that kind of panic in a long time because my life is on that damn phone. And part of that life on the phone is my income, my future business endeavors, maybe even future love of my life. I don't know. But one thing I have control over is my income, my career. And as a man in this day and age, especially with social media, you just feel like you are being judged, not in a bad way, but you're constantly being compared to like the perfect specimen, of a guy. And it's what it does. It's demoralizing to the point where you just say, why even try? Why even try? And then you develop the table for one lifestyle, which I have perfected. And, in Donna, in the same way that you say Donna's doing it because she had to.
Mm.
You had to. You got a leaky faucet. Anything in your house, you got to do it. There's not a man there to do it. So I think when it comes to our lives, our social lives, or our love life, we develop these, we adapt and some of those behaviors are maladaptive. But I honestly think that the whole men under attack thing is so crazy. And I'm a conspiracy truther, and I'm the guy that thinks like there's a grand plan to try to bring men down through, processed food, low testosterone, microplastics, social media. If a masculine man is on social media, he's going to get attacked by a lot of people. And I'm not talking about macho. I'm talking about a traditional masculine man, not some jagoff who is just talking all macho talk. I'm just talking like a normal man. And normal masculine men are not honored today. As a matter of fact, it's gotten to the point where we've all heard the phrase toxic masculinity, but you'll never hear the phrase toxic femininity. Mm-mm. So there's kind of a double standard there.
I listened to you speak, and I consider myself new to this world. Growing up in the 70s and the 80s, I feel like men were raised in the old rule book of how to treat a woman. I went through my first marriage, lasted 14 years. It was a civil divorce. We sat at the dinner table and completed our divorce and handed in our papers, didn't need any lawyers, owned a house, and it was done. The second marriage, I went into it the exact same way I was trained and taught from childhood of how to treat a woman. And, I was taught to put her on a pedestal. I was taught to fix all of her problems. I was taught to do all these things. And I was that soy boy. I'm a vegetarian, so I did eat soy. But there was always that wrench in my heart. There was always that thought process of she'll finally come around and she'll see who great man she had picked. And, I didn't know about whatever you want to call it, the manosphere, red pill, whatever names that we want to call it. I didn't know any of this until the second divorce, and I stopped life. And, I moved into this house, and I intentionally moved into a house on a beach. I'd sold my motorcycles. I made my whole life about her 3 kids and her single mom. And I mean, she was hot. I mean, that's what, and she picked me. I felt like, oh my God. But I was running out of the old rule book. And then now looking at life in 2025, and you could even go back to 2022, I found out a lot of stuff going like, oh, there was a new handbook. You know, I'm even going to bring it up to, I can't even watch TV. I haven't watched TV in programmed life for 5 years. As soon as you swallow it and all of a sudden you read the new handbook, you start to understand and look at things differently. And unfortunately, there's still men, which makes, George, you very popular. And you have new subscribers every single day, every single year, because they're still running under the old rule book. And I think that rule book has been rewritten over the last 30 years. But unfortunately, children, single moms raising boys, has really effed that up in life. I don't know if I fully explained it, but there's a new handbook and there's new men, and I use that lightly in today's world, as that I see that there's a new handbook, and people need to understand that we don't run under that.
Ian, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts.
So I am very lucky. My mom was born in the 60s and my father was born in the 40s, right? 48 and 60. I've been lucky to have had a two-parent household where many people, my age have not grown up with a two-parent household. They have old school values and traditions, not so much traditions because they've been dating since the late 70s and they got married more recently, like in 2018. So they did it backwards. They did it the reverse way. But I've been very lucky to have been raised with values that were before the new handbook, so to speak, right? But I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate. I don't see too much from my personal observation, masculinity being attacked so much as so that there's been conveniences that has allowed us to kind of not suffer as much or go through as much trials and tribulations as our parents and our parents' parents had to back in the day, right? And it's kind of made us lazier than what we should be. But I think there's plenty of people out there that are still getting after it. I have a close social circle that, I'm in jiu-jitsu, right? So they're in the weight room, they're at the gym, they have families, they have children that they're raising, they're doing good at their jobs. So from my personal purview, the salacious stuff on the internet, they're going to get hits and clicks. The negative stuff, they're going to get views no matter what. And I think, the negative stuff and the stuff that people want to see, it's getting pushed to the forefront more so than what we may realize is what's going on out there. But that's just my personal take.
I like that. And that's a good perspective. It's good to see both sides of that. Brendan, what do you think?
For myself, I was, I think I grew up more on the soy as well. And as my father was, I don't know how to, I'm not going to say the word on YouTube, but someone who lacked testicular fortitude, put it that way. And I would say he was kind of a needy, desperate person, especially when it came to women. And then he was, that's when he was in my life. So he was out of my life for probably my whole adolescence. So then there was just absence there. But for me, with having like I'll just say a weak father, so to speak, or no father for a long period of time, there, who fills the gaps is, I mean, it was my mom. She's a single mom. And her friends, right? It was women. So, and I'm a very firm believer now that there's no women that can teach a boy to be a man. It's not possible. So it was a struggle for me to really understand what being masculine means, and also at the same time unpacking. Well, people are saying there's toxic masculinity. What does that mean? And it's very confusing. So, and then in the world of, like, when I was in college and I was studying to be a therapist, it's I think the industry is pretty feminized, and there you learn, like, they teach you about like how to do couples therapy, but then you learn, like, they teach you in a way where men and women are the same, though they're equal. And so you don't really learn about what are the differences and what are the dynamics that can make it work. It's more like there's two people that operate the same way, and how do you make them communicate together and make a relationship work without factoring in gender at all, or male, female, whatever. So that was another thing that was confusing for me, and it really, like, contributed to probably all the failed relationships I had and so forth. So I don't. It's interesting. It's as Ian was saying, like, it doesn't feel like men are under attack, and it doesn't feel like that. It's almost worse, because it's like they changed the whole meaning on a foundational level of what a man is. So it doesn't feel like an attack. It feels like, no, this is how you be normal. This is how you're supposed to do it. You're not supposed to show too much assertiveness or aggression. You're not supposed to take the lead too much. You're supposed to defer to the opposite sex. That's like the noble thing to do. That's like what you should do, and that's what pleases women. And when that's all you have in your life, you grow up, you think, like, well, okay, if I don't do this, then who is going to be in my life? Because right now there's only women there, So
Right.
it's very hard to really understand that the attack is in the redefinition of what a man is, and trying to make that the normalcy, because it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like, oh, you don't get it, like, and that's a real struggle. Like, you don't get it, like, everyone gets this, and social media and TV, movies, everything, like
Well,
you
they're
see the
normalizing it.
same thing. Yeah, how can that be all wrong? How can everyone be wrong? But I
read comments here, because Brendan, people are talking to you, and I want you to hear what they have to say.
Sure.
Bruce said, "Me too, Brenda. Beta fathers destroyed sons. It's the truth. I've lived it." James said, James Trowbridge, who's here from Georgia's channel, masculinity shouldn't need to be taught. Chris Pagan. Chris, thank you so much for being here tonight. Chris is one of my followers over on X. I work at the airport. I see it all the time. Women ridicule their men in public. It's unfortunate. And I have to tell you, I've told this story multiple times about the wife and the husband in Walmart. He's pushing the shopping cart. The kids are in the cart crying, and she's got her finger in his face, and she's doing this in public. And, I think the biggest, most important part of a relationship is respect. If we don't give our men respect, we're going to get nothing in return, and we deserve nothing in return. That's my opinion. I'd be curious to hear how you gentlemen feel about that, about respect.
There's so I don't know if you guys heard of the two track and field athlete couples in the airport, Sha'Carri Richardson pushing I forgot his name, but they're two prominent athletes. They arrested her subsequently after the video. They saw the video in the airport, the police officers. The video came out and stuff. But because she initiated the contact, but he didn't want anything to happen to her because I guess he didn't want her to get in trouble or go in jail or something like that. But that's a prime example of, the disrespect that I typically see, particularly portrayed when videos and stuff come out with that stuff. But yeah, that's just a prime example. And it's unfortunate, right, that there's not that respect between couples anymore.
Agreed.
I was just going to say right before he was speaking, I saw that he spoke before I did. So I got to say the panel is wonderful because none of us are over talking one another. Anyways, it goes back to a commercial that goes back years ago. It was a Halloween commercial where you see two little boys walk up, knock on the door. The lady answers. I don't know the exact whole thing because I haven't seen it for years. And it goes as Kit Kat or whatever else. And then all of a sudden the girl comes up and she gets both of the treats. This, I believe the correct word is indoctrinated, however that is. Dyslexic. Don't use big words. But it is proven during even the Halloween season that we have to say boys are bad, girls get both treats. And I just go, this is being trained. A simple commercial. And that's where I think the red pill came from is if you start looking at everything with open eyes to see how this is being trained and beaten into your life in a stupid commercial, we're being raised this way. And I was raised that way. I was raised by a single dad with two older brothers. I was the youngest, got my ass beat all the time by my older brothers, and a couple of whacks across my head by my dad. But he was an army dad, and he needed to control three boys. But he got remarried in his second marriage. And today I see him as an 80-plus-year-old man, as weak as we could be, because he's still running by the 1950s handbook. So that's kind of where I get it from, is that we're just getting the lapping of the waves. I was just out on the beach a couple hours ago, and you just see it just lapping over and lapping over. And when you look at today's commercials, you can look at the football game last night or whatever program it is, and it's just beaten in every single day. And I work in a condo. I forget who posted it on the side chat there, but he works in the plane flight industry. And I work in a condo association, and I see 60, 70-year-old plus women treat their men like garbage. And I just go, where did that change? Where did this way of treating their men, talking bad behind their back? When did this happen? I don't hear the men talk negative about their wife. I only hear women talk negative about their husband. Most of them are, yeah.
It's because men don't talk like that. Men don't think that way. Men are logical and straightforward. Women are the catty claws with the claws out going for the jugular. It's always been that way. And that's not new.
It is to me. And I'm 53. I guess my head was, what's that? A daughter is a daughter. No. A son's a son until he meets his wife. A daughter's a daughter your entire life. I met 2 wives, and I made them my life. So I guess I was with blinders. Now I've taken those blinders off, and so yeah, I think I told the other person, we get to see the light. Somebody that's sitting here in the side channel saw the light, which is wonderful. But every day somebody else is learning. 28 years old, 35, 50, and even the old men that I see at my condo place that, yeah, it really is sad.
George, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the the analogy of the waves just coming in, just constantly hitting. If I say to you, if I ask you the question, what is stronger, rock or water? You might say rocks are stronger than water. But water can wear away rocks over a period of time, with just like when the waves just hit the rocks, hit the cliffs. It can literally just bore a hole and shape the rocks. So I think what happens is it's very slow, kind of like the dehumanization of men. And we see it in sitcoms with the goofy, like the dumb, goofy husband. You see it in TV commercials, that kind of stuff. It's difficult. It's difficult. And I think what happens is it's not overt. It's not like really, really hard in your face. But now we're seeing 20 years of it. I'm seeing young men that say, I'll never get married. Yeah. I mean, it's one of these things where, for instance, channels like mine, I try to give some hope rather than be all gloom and doom. And there are channels that do gloom and doom and black pill kind of stuff. I get it. I know what they're trying to say, but the reality is you can create your own reality. And I'm not saying be delusional, but if you make the proper decisions about controlling your life, even if it's just table for one does not mean I tapped out. It just means that I'm in control of my life, and my life does not revolve around a woman. I don't wake up and think, what can I do for a woman? Or I just don't. And all men are raised kind of like simps, all men. And we have to be awakened. We've all done stupid things with women. Every guy that I know has done stupid things. And I think when you talk about, Blake, when you talk about the old playbook, man, that's a powerful analogy. The old playbook versus the new playbook. You nailed it, bro. You absolutely nailed it. When we keep playing the game by the old rules, we're going to lose every single time.
George, I'm sorry, Blake, real quickly, if you don't mind, I just would like you to, James put red pill with a question mark. Maybe we can clarify what we mean when we say that.
It's a way of looking at the world as it is, not how you want it to be. That's it. Just in one simple sentence.
Ian, go ahead.
I have a question, a serious question. The concept of the red pill. Did this come into fruition? Was there ideas after the feminist movement in the 60s and 70s, or did this come about after the Wachowski brothers made that stupid movie?
Great question. George, I defer to you, sir.
It came out in the 60s because of, the phrase red pill obviously follows the Matrix, but the whole concept was the empowered woman. And when we talk empowered women, we're talking sexuality. When women started using hormonal birth control and didn't have to take full responsibility, although they say that using birth control is taking full responsibility for yourself. I believe hormonal birth control wrecked women. I honestly believe that with all my heart. It wrecked them. And it made them like dudes. It made them like guys.
Yeah.
So what happens is, the average guy dates the average woman, and it's almost like dating a man. Not that I've ever dated a man, but there's masculine attitudes. Like I said, on dating sites, you look at a modern woman's dating profile, it sounds like the resume of a 40-year-old executive man. They talk about their MBAs, they talk about mud runs, they're training for a marathon. Right. They travel by themselves all over the world, and of course they're visiting convents everywhere they go. So, I say that jokingly, and that's what men have to deal with.
I have a question for all of you real quickly. Are you all actively dating? No from Blake. No from Ian. Ian's kind of, I don't know.
What's the question again?
Are you all actively dating?
I think I like how George put it. I'm just being myself. I don't, whatever. For me, it was like whatever God brings into my life, we'll see. But I'm not gonna. That's not like on a priority list or something. If that makes sense.
Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, let me rephrase that. I date 3 people, 2 men and 1 woman. The man is named Raven. The woman is Joan Holloway, and the other man is Decaf, and they're called motorcycles. And I can ride all 3 in the same day, and none of them get jealous. So yes, I do date, and I ride them hard, and they get me off. Okay. And I enjoy that, but that's it.
Alexander actually asked if he could get in on the call. Are you gentlemen okay with me adding someone else to the show?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. Let me go ahead and Alexander, if you will post your email, I will send you a link to the show. I guess I could do it that way, or I guess I could just post the link. Let me do this real quickly.
Can I just say something to piggyback off what George said a second ago?
Sure.
So I don't like George was talking about the women with all the titles now, the MBA, the professionals, and it's like you're dating a man kind of, and that's really true. And I, one thing that working, I do work like with women, individual psychotherapy and stuff. And one of the hard things that for them to understand is men are not intimidated by that. It's not that men are afraid; they're not intimidated. But like if I'm working hard, after a day of seeing clients, and I come home and I want peace. I don't want to compete with someone else. I don't want to have that stress. I don't want to be with another dude, so to speak, who's, I don't want to have to measure dicks with another woman, that's just not, I'm not interested in that. But I think a lot of women, they look at it as like, well, you're afraid, you're intimidated by that. No, I'm not. I don't want that in my life. That's my preference. That's my choice. And, it's not a fear or something. And, I think the power dynamic is really hard for them to understand, because it does seem so logical to say like, well, why can't women and men be equal? Like on its face, that sounds nice. Like, well, sure. Why not? Why wouldn't that make sense? But, maybe equal equal in value to like the eyes of God, but not like we don't have the same qualities. We don't have the same gifts, the same role to play in humanity. So
I have to say that, and I don't know, gentlemen, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I can't find anything appealing about acting like a man. I find nothing appealing about that to myself whatsoever. I enjoy my femininity. I want to embrace my femininity. I want to share that femininity. I don't understand women that have this desire to chop their hair off and go to the gym and build enough muscle to look like a man. And I mean, maybe somebody finds that attractive. I mean, there's someone for everyone.
mm-hmm.
But to me, I mean, we're not the same. We're not biologically the same. We're not mentally the same. We're not physically the same. So all of this bullshit, pardon my French, that is being expended out there to get men and women on the same playing field, I don't understand it. I never have. Maybe you guys could speak to that.
Can you repeat that question?
Really wasn't a question. It was just an observation. I mean, am I wrong that men enjoy a woman who's feminine?
You're not wrong.
I'm 53 and I got to be honest. I don't think that I can tell you one woman, and not to put you in a box, that could cook. I was raised by a single father, and all three of us had a night that we had to cook. My two older brothers had 2 nights, and I had 1 night because I was the 5-year-old. So I had to learn real quick. And when I turned 8, I learned how to use the stove and I could make hot dogs. Everything else came into plan after that. My older brothers were cooking chicken piccata and all this other stuff. We learned how to clean because you couldn't leave the house. Not to say that those are womanly duties, but I can't tell you, both of my wives weren't cleaners. I was the cleaner. So I took on all the duties that they weren't good at, which I found out that I was taking on 90% of the duties. Second wife had 3 kids, and all she had to do was handle her 3 kids. And she didn't even do that well. I had to take 95% of that. So I don't know if we're training our children, no matter if you're male or female, to doing the duties that are meant for it, where it's just be who you want to be fun, do this, enjoy life. And you go, but there's duties that need to get done. The clothes need to be washed. The house needs to be power washed, whatever it is. The lawn needs to be mowed. My second wife, when I left, the grass went to 12 inches high. I mean, she had 3 young boys that could have mowed that lawn. Wasn't told to them that they had to do it. And that's why I was in the house. But we're not being taught from birth or even at a young age to do these responsibilities. You know, I work at the facility, and my boss, her child is 28 years old, never had a job, lived at home. But he's smart as heck, supposedly, has a lot of money in debt, but she took it on. And at 28, finally moved away from home. She moved him. He didn't do anything. And now he's going to his first days in his first job. And I think that's sad as a man.
I agree. George, your brother is here. So Tony's joining us this evening.
Very good.
Oakshade said, being a gentleman in today's society is also seen as a nice guy or pushover. Our society rewards aggressive behavior. And I'm going to say something to you, gentlemen, and this is either going to go over really well or it's not. Stop dating women with children. Stop it. Stop setting yourself up to be the patsy to someone else's kids. You're never going to be the father.
But Donna, she was hot.
It's called Take the Goggles Off.
TNA, baby. I mean, it got me, and I was out of her league when I was younger.
Again, I have a friend of mine who was on my show who's young, who's 25, 26 years old, and he just got involved with a young lady who has 3 kids. You know, you're taking on an inordinate amount of responsibility with those children, and they're not even yours.
Yeah, but it's kind of like a stove. You know, I had to touch it like 5 times to find out that it's hot.
Blake.
So I had to date the hot girl with 3 children. There was no other way I would have dated her with 3 children.
I just love what Jessica says here. I don't know if you guys can see it on the screen. A woman who can't learn to cook and clean for her man is an absolute rebellion. Show her the door, gentlemen. And I'm telling you right now, I think one of the greatest joys that I have is being able to cook for a man, because they're so appreciative. And literally, it takes nothing to put a meal together. It takes nothing to keep a house clean. This was the downfall of my son's relationship, and I've related that story to you guys many times. What is something that women don't understand about men? George, can we start with you?
Sure. Boy, where do I start with that?
That's a pretty big, broad subject.
What they don't understand is that men will lay down their damn lives for a woman. Some of them know that and take advantage of that. We will move damn mountains for a woman. We will swim shark-infested waters. We will go to battle for a woman. Only to get taken advantage of. And we will do so much until we touch the stove a time or two too many, then we tap out. And so many women, as soon as a guy says, I'm not interested in dating, the modern women go, he's gay, or something's wrong with him. No, he's not gay. And no, the reality is you're sick of her shit, period. And you encounter shit over and over and over, then you end up developing table for one lifestyle. Then you find motorcycles. Then you find hobbies. Then you work out and you have buddies and you start working on yourself. And you're like, you know what? My life is a lot easier without this luggage. Mm. And you say to yourself, if she's not adding to my life, and I think all of us will say that, men and women, if she's not adding to our life, I don't want her in my life.
Great. Welcome, Alexander is joining us in the house this evening. Welcome, Alexander. Do you want to take a moment just to introduce yourself to the panel?
Hey guys, how are you doing? My name is Alex. I'm from originally from Europe, Georgia. I currently live in Canada. I'm 20 years old.
Welcome to the show. Thanks for being here this evening.
One of my favorite restaurants in Philadelphia is Gamarjoba, which is a Georgian restaurant that I discovered. There was a couple, and the guy that I met at church, St. Philip's Orthodox Church, and he said to me, "Have you ever had?" We sat down during coffee hour after church, and he said, "Have you ever had Georgian food?" I says, "No." And he says, "You have to try it," because we were talking about food. And I just basically Googled Georgian restaurants in Philly, very large Russian, Georgian, Uzbek, former Soviet Union communities in Philadelphia. And I didn't realize that I had a choice of Georgian restaurants. I'm like, where do I even begin? So I went to the one that has the most number of stars, and it was magnificent. And I paired it with Georgian red wine. Oh, my Lord. I didn't realize that Georgia is a wine country. I had no idea. And it was just out of this world. I highly recommend Georgian cuisine.
Well, let me guess. Was it the dumplings your favorite or the khachapuri?
Both. Actually, both.
Those are the two of the most famous.
Yes, out of this world. Out of this world.
Actually, a lot of my Canadian friends here still love to go to Georgian restaurant after I show them, which is surprising. I mean, I'm pretty picky with food, but it's very popular. Once people really try Georgian food, they usually go back to it.
It's like nothing else. Like you've never experienced anything like it. It's a cuisine that is no other culture has this type of food.
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't make it as well here, of course, as they make it in Georgia. Even in Georgia, you have to go to specific parts where they make the best food.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, you're the new one on the block this evening, so I would love for you to chime in on the topic that I just hit up. Is that I asked George, what do men? I'm sorry, I forget my question. What women don't understand about men?
In my opinion, or as a 20-year-old, I don't have as much experience as some of you guys maybe, but I think women maybe think that giving your men love is the most important thing, where sometimes they just need to feel respected in front of their friends, first of all. And then, for example, let's say if a man has friends over and the woman is in the house and the woman doesn't even greet them or make them food or offer anything, I think that really speaks of a man as well. So it's kind of like a woman is a representation of a man. So you should represent your men as well as you can.
Boy, I agree with that 100%. Ian, your thoughts?
I kind of missed the last part there, but I think I'm going to say something that was similar to what Alex, I can't read his name. Is it Alexander?
Alexander.
Because my dog was distracted when he was barking, so I'm sorry if I zoned out a little bit. So I don't think women really understand what they do out in public. If they're really serious, if they're in a serious relationship, it's an extension of their man, whether you're married or you're in a serious relationship. So what she does out there, it's whether people know that you guys are dating or not, it's gonna be in it, whatever she does, right? So you want to make sure that she's representing you the best way that she can and not embarrassing you, or else it's all bad. It's just all bad.
And the question in the chat, we sort of already answered it, Paul, in that you were asking if any of the gentlemen are actively dating. Alex, I don't know about your situation. Are you actively dating anyone at this time?
Yes, I am. Yes.
Okay. So in answer to your question, Paul, most of the gentlemen are letting it play out and not really making a plan to actively date or search on dating sites, etc. Thea, thank you for being here. I appreciate you. We've had a lot of comments about the food. A lot of comments coming up about the different types of quality of food. So
I'd like to go to the question that you proposed is what do women not get about men? Please. I think that in today's world, all right, so my belief is men are pretty simple human beings. They've always said drain the balls and feed their stomach. We're pretty good with that. And I think that that's where, OnlyFans or whatever else is, it feeds that energy that I believe that even in real life, both, again, my wives knew that that's all of course they didn't feed my stomach, but I got fat in my first marriage because I ate myself fat, and then I drank myself fat in my second marriage. But they knew what kept it going. They knew that that's all that they had to do because I would continue going with the relationship. So I do believe that they can get a man on a hook. So I don't know if they don't know about it. I heard something recently is women don't mature after 16 because what they've learned will work for the rest of their life. Is all they need to learn is how to manipulate a man. And I go, women do that very well. We get into relationships and we think it's going somewhere, but when they're not happy or when the things go south, they're not willing to work at it, which is what they're also not taught is, hey, there's good times and there's bad times. And I think men are willing to go through the bad times. But then they're told, I have a friend that has 2 children, and the woman hit 40 and she wants to go relive her 20s. So I think they know exactly what he's on the hook for 2 children for the next, he's going to be 67 before his kids are 20. So, and she's going to get money, and she makes 25% more than he does.
In my opinion, I think men need respect the same way that women need love. And I think that, men, the reason why we're seeing, I guess what you call as a decline in dating, they're getting burned. So they're taking the risk, but there's no reward involved. So what's the point? Am I wrong?
It all comes down to money, time, and energy.
Yeah, I think every man needs to be on a quest to be the best version of himself somehow, some way. Whether that means money, time, and energy. And I think it does include all 3 of those things, Blake. You're right about that. Be the best version of yourself for you. Be the best be good at being a man for you, not for anyone else. Because if you do it for someone else and then they flake on you, then there goes your motivation. I have lost a lot of weight and muscled up more after breakups and divorce than any other time in my life, where I needed to make a change, and I made that change. So out of some dark times has come some great growth for me as a man and as a professional. So although I don't want any more dark times, I do embrace what I learned during those dark times.
Interesting comments here on the screen. Jessica says, when a woman says, I'm not happy, she's really saying, I don't respect you and I think I can do better. That's 100% true. And that grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. That's why the maybe door should always be closed. Right? Like when she strays from you, when she leaves you, she didn't go to the convent. She went to the other guy. She went to Chad. Oakshade said most men could find a woman if women don't play the chase me forever and deal with my hang-ups game. And the games are what kill people. Emily, so good to see you, my dear. Thank you so much for being here. Yep, be the best version of yourself. Absolutely. Bruce said, Donna, you're 100% correct. Men and young boys developing into men need respect. I never got it as a lost teenager. Got disrespected from my mother and a weak beta father who never stood up. I'll tell you what, you guys tell me if I'm wrong, but a strong father is so important. So important.
Very, very much so. Very much so. I have 2 younger brothers. One of them's in the chat. We had a very strong father, very masculine. All the stuff: fishing, hunting, weightlifting, bodybuilding, doing stuff around the house, changing your own brakes, never going to a mechanic. How dare you pay a mechanic when you can do it yourself in your own driveway? Just really interesting. When I look at people who didn't have that, how difficult life can be for them. Like, I fear nothing. My brothers, we fear nothing. We have 0 issues fighting or defending, like none. It's just second nature to us.
Right.
And so we're very thankful for that, for that kind of upbringing. With that, now my dad was the old rule book kind of guy. With that came strong discipline, very strong physical discipline, which of course you hate it when you're getting it, but I look back on it now and I think like he probably saved my life, saved me from going down a wrong road. I had a father that said, if you ever go to jail and, you know, when they arrest you, they tell you that you have the right to make one phone call. He goes, that better not be to me. He goes, you will stay in jail. I am not bailing you out of jail. If you get into trouble, you're staying in jail. And that's the kind of dad I had, you know, and of course he used language that was, you know, rough around the edges. He comes from a different generation, but I thank God for my dad.
I'm a little rough around the edges too sometimes. Ian was there last night. Alex, I'd be curious to hear about your upbringing, sir.
Sorry, what'd you say?
I'd be curious to hear about your upbringing, parents, mom and dad.
Yeah, I'm as I said, I'm from Georgia. So in Georgia, it's very common that we have a lot of very traditional families. So same as Mr. George, my father is a very strong-minded person, and I'm very thankful for him for the way he raised me. And he always told me, his idea was that when you are in a relationship, make sure you remember that everyone is replaceable. So they're not it's not the end of the world if something doesn't work out. That he always told me that even when I was 15, 16, growing up, and I think it really helped me in the long run.
I love that. Brendan, what about you, sir?
As far as the upbringing,
Yeah.
no, I didn't really have. I had more of the beta father, so I didn't really have the discipline father that did all the things. I think when I was really young, but I don't even remember. We might have gone like fishing or I think we went like dirt bike riding or something when I was young. But yeah, I didn't really have that. I was I was reading this comment that kind of hit me here from Tony Torres.
I saw that too. Let me
When
put that up.
when men say the vows, at least 90% mean it. Well, 90% of women mean until she feels like it. Yeah, and you know, I read that one kind of stuck with me because I think Tony's really right on that. And George kind of touched on, you know, men don't, we don't second guess being the workhorse. Like we'll take on all the extra burden, stress. We'll do as much as we can if we think it's in the best interest of the relationship, and we don't question it, even if it's damaging to ourselves. We'll just do it because we think we're supposed to. And I think that's like kind of a natural instinct for a man. But I think that's the big difference in at least where in this world where we're at now. I don't know if it always has been like this, but maybe it feels like men try to do things that are right, the right things, and women do things that they feel. And when you base big decisions on how you feel, then that's when obviously marriages end and bad things happen. So that's I think a very relevant comment, and maybe one of those things, Donna, you were saying like what women don't understand about men. And none of this is to say, by the way, at least from my end, and hopefully most guys, I love women. So I think women add value to the world and my life, and I like talking with women and having relationships with women. So none of this is like a denigration. I think that can get confused sometimes when we talk about men embracing their power, setting up the frame in the relationship, or stepping into a leadership role. That somehow is diminishing the value of a woman, or that they're not as important, or they're discarded or something, and that's just, or minimized. That's just not true. That's not. I think it's hard for them to understand that emotionally, but it's just not true. So, at least from my end, I mean, there are some guys that hate women. I have seen that, so I know that's real. But most guys that I hear talking in this like the red pill movement, and they're kind of saying that it's not a hating of women.
Well, I think you're speaking specifically about what I call, and I think George has spoken to this too, called the black pill. And these are men that are just basically shut down on women 100%, and that there is no hope. And I don't believe that. And I believe that in relationships, especially between men and women, there's somebody for everybody. Your job is, as a man, is to see the red flags before they become a permanent part of your periphery. And believe me, women are giving you hints and red flags constantly. It's in the way she speaks to you. It's in the way she acts when she's out in public. It's how she dresses. Does she take into consideration your feelings when she goes out? I mean, if she's telling you she's going out with the girls and she has a low-cut blouse on and a mini skirt, she's not doing that for you. She's not even doing it for the girls she's going out with. She's doing it for the potential men that are in her audience. Know it up front. And don't go into it with blinders on. Pure Blood, I really appreciate you being here, sir. And your comments are not popping up in the chat on my live channel, which makes me think that I might have blocked you already at one point. But if you insult my guests one more time, sir, I'm going to boot you right out of the chat. So keep yourself under control. This is a very civilized conversation, and I don't need you disrespecting the gentlemen that are on my panel. That is your final warning, sir. Back to the conversation. I'd love to talk about brotherhood, because I think that if you men don't have a circle of men around you, I think that I feel like that's a critical part to being a man. Am I wrong? Help me out.
I think so. I talk about it as the cocktail, literally the cocktail, like a red pill cocktail or a men's community cocktail. There are certain people that you watch that you're attracted to. They're teaching, and I watch certain guys on YouTube for tips on building my body. They're personal trainers. I do not want to hear his talk about relationships. I'll listen to him talk about metabolism and muscle growth, that kind of thing. Then there's guys that are kind of like the dating and pickup guys, and sometimes they have like some nice things to say and some valuable things. And then there's some of the old heads that talk with a little bit more wisdom. And then I found, like, for me at my age, my mentors are either dead or dying. So I've had to, like, what do you do when you're an older guy and all the guys that you looked up to are either dead or dying? You end up going backwards. So now some of the guys that I really respect and listen to are 25 to 45 to 50 years old. And I don't claim to know it all. Can I learn something from a 30-year-old guy? Absolutely. 100%. Because I do believe that, here I go with the third hands, I do believe that every man is a teacher and every man is a student. And you need to embrace that. The guy who's been divorced 2 months has better coping skills than the guy whose wife just told him yesterday that she doesn't want to be married. So now the guy who's been divorced for 2 months, he's the expert to the guy who just lost his marriage yesterday. So every man is a teacher and every man is a student. You do not have to be divorced for 10 years or 20 years in order to teach somebody. The men's community can be summed up in 3 words: men sharing notes. Period. And that's what we're doing here.
Right. Ian, I know I'd be curious to hear your comments, sir, on the brotherhood and the importance of having that surround around you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's very important for someone to have a close knit group of people, especially men, to bounce off ideas when it comes to relationships, when it comes to business, when it comes to certain situations that they might be going through that someone else that they know has already been through, so that they can know that there's a way out, that there's a blueprint towards through certain things. Um, yeah, like I mentioned before, I'm in jiu-jitsu. There's a core group of folks. I didn't really growing up have a lot of friends. There was a couple of people that I would go visit, play video games, and they would move or I moved, and or they would either go to a path that I didn't want to go to. So I was kind of a loner growing up. So it's really since I've been gotten older, that there's like a core group of folks that I've really gotten to know. But yeah, I think that's a very important aspect in the development of someone younger or older.
And Blake, what about you, sir?
I'm going to go ahead and let Brandon answer this question next.
All right, Brandon, you're up, sir.
What was the question again?
Just the importance of the brotherhood. Do you have a good circle around you?
Yeah, that's really important. Well, like I said, a woman can't raise a boy to be a man. And I don't think men, when they're adults, if you didn't have that, if you were raised by, a feminine father or by women, that the only way you learn is by having men around you, learning what is a true friend, I would say, and what does masculinity look like, and like actually experiencing it, not just hearing people talk about it. So, and knowing like you have people that go through the same things. And like honestly, for me, it's like when I hear someone talking about women and how they are, and it like validates for me, like, okay, that's my experience too. It feels so much better just to know that like I'm not an idiot here. Like, you know what I mean? Like I can, I all these people around me are having the same experience. So whatever society is telling me, and how big that feels from social media, TV, whatever, I have people in real life who are telling me otherwise, and I trust that more. I've learned to.
Right. Alexander, I know you come from a different culture, but I would love to hear the importance of the brotherhood in your circle.
Brotherhood, what do you mean? Like as also family or just friends and people around you?
I think outside of the circle of your family, if we're talking, friends and importance of having men friends that you do things with.
Yeah, I think it's very important, in my opinion, who you choose to be friends with. For example, I moved from Georgia to Canada, right? And most of my friends, we didn't keep in touch. Also, it's because we went our different paths. And I think if we stayed if we stayed close together, I think I would have also ended up on their path, which I didn't want to be. So I think we shouldn't be afraid to cut people off sometimes. And I think you should choose your friends wisely, because if you don't have any similar goals, I don't know if it's really necessary to be friends with them. But I mean, we make our own decisions, right?
Agreed, boy. And that, having the correct circle of friends, right, George? I think that, that is the trajectory and direction that your life takes. I mean, if you don't if you don't involve yourself in a good circle of men, you're going to end up in a different path. Absolutely. Blake, you had your hand up, sir. Go ahead.
So I refrained from answering at first because I didn't want to sound so negative. So it goes back to second marriage, 8 years, worked with my wife, worked in the same company. And I created a whole entire life with the people that we worked with. We were all therapists, occupational, speech, and physical. And all of them I invited into my home multiple times a year because we would throw the big parties. And we lived on a lake and we invited people in, and we had that relationship. And that was the brotherhood. We all had the same similar kind of jobs and had the same stories and had the same hoop stories and all that. Well, we went through our separation and I moved to I changed locations, and a guy that I had created a relationship 10 years earlier was the one that told me that my wife was cheating on me because she was on social media. I didn't know anything about social media 5 years ago. I didn't know what Facebook was. I didn't know anything. And when I realized that she was on Facebook and that everybody that I worked with, that I allowed into my home and was around my wife, they all knew she was with another man and bringing him to parties while we were still together. And then you go to the guy that I spoke to that has 2 children. It was his best friend she stepped out with. And that's where my brotherhood went to nothing. I took every person out of my life. And that's where I went. Even let's go to my injury. I injured my back during my job, and even my family would just call once a month. Oh, well, how are you doing? I was laying in a bed for 20 plus hours a day. And I realized this is all about me now. They weren't caring. My brother didn't have a job. He didn't come down and try to help. And I realized, shit, I'm alone in this world. And I've really watched who I bring into my life now. So where brotherhood is, I can't even trust another man to be there for me because they all knew and they were waiting for their opportunity for my ex-wife. And here I had a friend 2 years after my separation. It was his best friend sleeping with his wife. And I went, damn. So brotherhood, I don't even know how much that goes today.
I think that goes back to what Alexander said. It is your circle. It's your quality of men that are in your circle.
Well, you chose them, Blake.
Agreed, Paul. What was that?
Friends. You chose those people, right?
They were the people within my life that I worked with that I accepted in, yes.
That's true, but would you think that maybe you let them in too closely? Like you trusted them in a way when you shouldn't have?
When I was in it, no. When I was in it, we were all together. But again, we don't know as human beings, or at least I feel, we don't know what we're capable of. Well, that's kind of what I learned is you don't even know, Alexander, who you are until you're put to the extreme. And I look at almost every individual. You can live with a woman or you can live with a roommate and you don't know who they are, even if you lived with them for 20 years. So what are you capable of? I'm pretty sure you could do some pretty mean stuff. There it is. Ian, I took martial arts for many years. Why? Because I just wanted to learn and I wanted to know how to manipulate a situation that I could maybe defend myself and the people that were around me. What am I capable of? I have an imagination. But what those people did, I don't think I had that in me because I just wouldn't have done that. I did have a brother relationship with those people. And a sister.
Well, it's all some of it is nature and nurture. Like, so if you're raised a certain way, and to your point, a lot of people don't know what they're capable of. But I would never, it's all about integrity for me. If I knew somebody if one of my close friends was going through something like that, I would want them to know about it. Some people might say, no, don't put yourself in, don't mind business or whatever. Let them figure it out on their own. But I would have enough integrity to let them know as soon as possible, hey, listen, you might want to talk to your wife about something. But it's all about integrity. A lot of people don't have integrity today because a lot of people are desensitized to a lot of things. They're very desensitized, and they're not as sensitive to people's feelings as they should be, right? So, but that's my take on it.
You nailed it, Ian. You nailed it. People are desensitized 100%.
I mean, we'll even go. I shame fat right now is because a person that was overweight hurt myself. But you know what? I'm going to pass on that one. Sorry. Retract.
Hey, this is an open conversation. We're here to learn from each other. And you guys are actually, I'm blown away that we've been at this for an hour and a half. It doesn't even feel like it. But I have another question for you guys. Can we talk about anger for a minute? Because, we kind of joke around with the angry Donna, angry George. Sometimes we come on and we go into our rants a little bit. But I want to know, and I want to start with Alexander, because you do have a different culture and a different way of looking at things. And by the way, your perspective, sir, is way beyond your 20 years. So I just want to share that with you. And I'm 63. So me saying that, I mean, your wisdom is very, very pronounced. How do you deal with anger, and do you have anger?
Yeah, my anger comes out in my sport. And if I don't have any focus on anything, I have a lot of anger issues. So I just put it aside and I focus on training and my goal. And I let my anger out in the moments like competitions and all that. But sometimes where I don't do that, I realize that I have a lot of anger. So I just have to put it into something.
Interesting.
I use it as a fuel.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
You're muted.
Sorry about that. Anger was the best gift my father ever gave me because it helps me get things done. I find that it's how I express my anger. It like rages up inside of me. I can let my anger turn into rage, or I can let it create action in me. I don't want to become so passive where I don't have strong opinions or energy about a certain issue. There's certain things that make me come alive, and I want to reach through the screen and grab somebody by the throat, which is my natural. The natural person wants to solve everything with the unrefined me wants to solve everything with rage and violence. But I learned to channel that, and I'm nothing like that now. I'm decades past that. But it's always there under the surface. But I also have coping mechanisms and ways to express it and channel it that I never had before. And once men learn the tools how to deal with anger, sometimes you suppress it, sometimes you channel it. That's it. And I don't know if it's genetic. I don't know if it's, like Ian said, I don't know if it's nature or nurture. I don't know. Even as a behavioral science professional, I really don't know if it's nature or nurture. But pontificating about it never kept a wall from getting punched. Let me put it that way. Never kept a door from getting slammed. So I had to manage my own behavior. So I no longer punch walls or slam doors or people.
How did you manage that, George?
Working out. The gym is, supersets with curl, tricep extensions is a beautiful thing. Push-ups is a beautiful thing. Trail run is a beautiful thing. and
Right,
it
right.
diffuses the rage in me.
Yeah,
I
you
gotta
have
be
to
honest.
work-
I try to limit my anger now. I was angry after the second, and I went through the roller coaster, and now it's a motorcycle ride. Let's go out on the beach. I don't want to be pushed to the anger part anymore. I don't look at that as something that fuels me currently, which is why I'm looking at moving. I'm looking on my channel. I've made 4 videos of I'm wanting to move into the Western Virginia area where I can afford land and I can afford a house, and have some 10 chickens, 7 motorcycles, enjoy life. A dog, a goat. Learn new things. I want to take my money, my time, and my energy. When it comes to women at this current time, I view it as a hobby, just like everything we do in our life is a hobby. Sleeping could be a hobby. You can, research it, figure out how to get better sleep. Cooking, you can find out to be a better cook and give nutrition. A hobby is martial arts for Ian. We all have hobbies, and women are just a hobby that I've just said, my time, my energy is just not worth that time. So now I just don't want to have that anger. And I found that might have brought a lot of anger in me in my past of, what I've wasted. And now I go, you know what? It's up to me to choose where I put my energy, time, and in the future that I know that I can succeed at, that are going to repay me, with fruits and labor later.
Can I get one of my moderators to please take care of Pure Blood? I'm done. I gave you a warning, sir, and you're just being an asshole now. Now you're pissing me off. So somebody please block his ass out of the chat. I'm done with it. And now you're about to see angry Donna. Brian says the anger in men is nature. It's best described as a monster that a man must learn to control. I first felt it when I was 10 years old and have had to control ever since. And I think, isn't that true for most men? Do you find anger at a very young age that it comes into your life? I see a lot of head nodding yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Or passivity. If a guy is afraid to express anger, he gets passive and then just lives a victim, like the life of a victim. Everything always happens to him.
Well, and then I think, and then men just turn into a feminine version of themselves. And then when they meet a woman, they let her run the show. Yeah. And I'm a firm believer. I'm old school. The man runs the house. I am the support system. I am not the leader. And that, unfortunately, in this generation that's coming up, there seems to be this I'm the equal, and that really is the downfall of the relationship between men and women, in my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, my channel. If you don't like it, click the X. What about fatherhood? Fatherless homes. Do you think that's a big crisis in society today? Homes where children are being raised by the mother only? Ian is
children need a mother and a father, period. And, not just a father figure, but a father, someone who's invested in them. And, when a guy goes from tucking his kids into bed every night to being a visitor 2 or 3 times a month, that really does something to the dad, and it does something to the kids. So what happens is mom's new boyfriend ends up seeing the children more than the dad does. And that is some sick shit, man. That is just some crazy ass shit. And it's caused a lot of problems. And most women date many men after their divorce. That's the reality. They don't marry the first guy. And if guys in the audience, if you're dating a woman who's just divorced, We're separated. You are the transition man. Take my word for it. Doesn't matter how in love she is or how in love you are. You are the transition man. And she's not going to settle down with you. You're new for her. You're different than her husband. And she still has to find herself, whatever the hell that means. But do not invest in a newly divorced woman. It just does not work. You will be a transition man, and you'll have a celebratory dinner one night, and then she'll tell you it's over the next night. So don't do that. Don't do that.
George, she's not finding herself. She's finding her next penis. Let's be real. If you're going through a relationship with a female who just broke up with somebody, and her cell phone is her private little world, it's not because she has a lot of friends. We said it one time in a live, it's a box of dicks. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm offending anybody. If you're offended,
Yeah.
you can leave.
Yeah.
Anyway, it looks like Pure Bud finally got the exit. Thank you so much. Tony said, awesome to hear and read from women that behave like real women. We do exist, Tony, believe it or not. We're out there. We're just so rare that it's kind of like finding a unicorn or a mermaid. It's sort of an anomaly. So what can I say? How about dating apps? I would love to hear, Alexander, if you don't mind, and then we'll go to Brendan. I don't want you not to be able to participate here. I'm trying to keep that circle flow going. But Alexander, I know you said you're in a relationship. Did you ever use dating apps at any point?
Yes, I did, but my intent was not to find a wife on the dating app. I'm gonna be honest. I mean, in my what I look for a woman, I don't think I'll find that woman on a dating app. I would probably find her in like a village somewhere in the middle of nowhere, raised by a proper mom and dad. But I mean, we used dating app for something else. I think every man would know that.
My son included. Thank you for saying it. Brendan.
I think we need more remote villages around Southern California, Donna, where we can find these rare specimen unicorns. Because someone in the comments said earlier that they go to the convent. I mean Vegas, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
And that's I think that's really true. That's the old comment there. But no, I don't. I mean, it depends where you live. I think like he was saying. I forget your name, sir. But yeah, if you have like remote villages where there's like Orthodox Christians or traditional Catholic Christians, then you probably could find a good woman there. I think, but otherwise, it's a crapshoot, and I don't know. I don't have any good things. I don't have any good wisdom on that, really.
Ian.
I don't use dating apps, so.
Okay, fair enough. Ian, I'd love to hear your comments.
I think they serve a purpose. Excuse me. They do serve a purpose. It's funny that you mentioned dating apps. Once, I think it was a couple years ago, I had, much like a therapist would have lined up sessions, I had a few dates lined up within a couple of weeks. First dates lined up. So they do serve a purpose. These dates didn't go anywhere because they kind of catfished me. But yeah, I would say they serve a purpose, definitely. But it's all it depends on the intent as well. I've heard situations where dating apps have two people found each other and they've got married off the apps, so that certainly does exist, but it certainly does depend on the intent, and you gotta vet these people heavily. You gotta vet them.
I just find the whole concept is more along what Alexander was suggesting. And you could say that about LinkedIn as well. That's the new dating app, LinkedIn. I think at this point, if you gentlemen, if anyone has anything that they would like to share, we can start to wrap up the show this evening. We've been at it for almost 2 hours. I believe that this has probably been one of the best panels. It's the only panel I've ever had, but I loved every minute of it. And I hope you guys did too. And I want to bring you back. So please, at this moment, if you don't mind, we can go around the panel. And if you'll just say your final words, that would be awesome.
Save the man, not the marriage. Never try to get her back. Get you back. Because somewhere along the line you lost yourself. Don't try to buy flowers. Buy yourself flowers. And nothing but respect for the rest of the panel here. Good job, guys.
All I got to say is keep learning, keep understanding what's going on, and learn from it. Started my channel over 2 years ago. Every single video I did, I kept just putting still learning, and I can still go back and learn. I can see in my video what I was learning with video editing. It's the same thing in everything you do. It doesn't matter if you're, learning how to shoot a gun or learning how to shoot from 50 yards. You just keep learning and don't ignore what's sitting right in front of you as truth. It's going, okay, that I'm going to put that in my bag and, create your own learning manual. Just keep learning.
Ian.
Yeah, I just want to thank Donna for having me on the panel. Regular old me. I don't have a channel. I don't know if I will ever get a channel. I don't, I just don't put myself out there like that. I like listening to more so than I like, blurting stuff out. But yeah, this has been enlightening, and I enjoy George. As I mentioned, I've been watching him for years. Yeah, this is it's an awesome panel. Thank you.
Brandon.
Thanks for having me on, Donna. You really made me earn my money today. Well, no, it was really a very interesting hearing everybody and their perspective and experiences. I guess I'll say something about anger since I didn't really say anything about that, just to end it. That I think it's healthy in a lot of ways because it does help you become a better person. It helps you to learn, motivates you a lot. And in that way, it can be healthy. But I think it's the anger that doesn't leave, that is kind of holding on to us. That's not helpful. And for guys that want to grow and just be a better version of themselves in life, sometimes that has a lot to do with just not being able to accept the way that things are. And for me, that's been a big lesson that, we're not, men and women aren't the same. And whenever I'm expecting a woman to understand where I'm coming from or to be thinking the same way I am, that makes me more angry and usually doesn't get me to a good place. So what I found is that if you come to acceptance that there's differences, and that even if you're you do everything right, that doesn't mean things will work out. And you have to accept that and move on and not have the maybe door open or whatever that door is there for you. So thanks again, Donna.
Oh, thank you, Brandon. Alexander, you'll have the final word, sir.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have anything to add after all these fine gentlemen said their words, but I had no idea what to expect joining this live. But so far, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Donna, Mr. George. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, once again, great show. Thank you so much for being here. And I, again, appreciate you taking the time out of your life tonight to be here on my channel with me. And so with that, we will be ending the show. And thank you, all of you in the chat. Stop Slacking, Paul Belamonte, thank you for being here. Jessica, I appreciate you so much. Just all of the fantastic comments and questions. James Trowbridge, who came from George's channel and told me about it. Appreciate you being here. Bruce, thanks for being here. Brian, thanks for coming over from X, sir, from Bill Corbett's channel. I appreciate you. And Ender was here earlier, and Tony. I had 2 Tonys in the chat tonight. I appreciate everyone here. If I missed anybody, I apologize. But again, this show will be on replay. Gentlemen, have a wonderful evening and a wonderful weekend. And let's do this again, okay? All right. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Donna.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, George.